In September of 2022, I stood below a 120-foot waterfall in northern Quebec on a remote river very few people have traveled before. Raindrops dripping from my face blanketed the map in front of my paddling partner, Peter, and I, as we struggled to find our way out of the canyon that surrounded us. For the past 2 weeks, we had seen the sun for less than 3 hours and endured a never-ending rain that made its way through every layer of clothing we brought with us. Now, close to the end, we found ourselves beneath what seemed like an impenetrable canyon with big rapids and steep cliff walls. We were forced to make the difficult decision whether to paddle these big rapids in the midst of a 40-degree weather and a relentless rain, or attempt to portage around the sheer cliff walls to the base of the rapids. Deciding to portage, we scaled the cliffs with 80-pound packs and weaved our way through dense alder bushes that grew like spider webs along the river's edge. So dense, we needed to shout to one another in order to stay close, even though we were only a few feet away from each other. At the base of the rapids, we found that the high water had risen high into the alders and swept through them quickly like a strainer, an impossible put-in spot and a dangerous situation to be in. In a frustrating moment where the challenge of the day and the relentless weather met, tensions began to rise as we both had different views on how to handle this difficult situation. Eventually, we decided it would be best to spend the next 2.5 hours portaging back to where we had started and shoot the rapids instead. With our canoe loaded, we descended into the roaring rapids, our hearts racing and waves crashing as we successfully navigated through the most challenging rapids of our lives. With our canoe still barely floating, we grabbed the cliff walls and began to bail out the several inches of water that had accumulated below us. This is one of countless challenging situations I've found myself in throughout my years of wilderness travel. But now I might ask, does this sound like a good time to you? I would say most people wouldn't exactly go out of their way to do an expedition that challenges them like this. So why do I spend my time and money and voluntarily put myself into difficult situations like this? Well, rewind back to 2013 when I signed up for a local program in Sartell, Minnesota called Les Voyageurs Inc. as a sophomore in high school. This program takes high school-age men and women into remote parts of northern Canada on month-long expeditions. I returned from this first trip changed, but I was unsure why. I continued involvement with the program every year since my first trip, both as a guide and most recently as the program director. Through these years, I came to realize, though, that in some ways my experiences were not at all unique, but rather a part of our history as humans. Many cultures have or still use what's known as a rite of passage. This ritual, event, or experience marks a major milestone or change in a person's life. At a basic level, many people believe that this can be marked by 3 main stages. First, being separation, or leaving what's familiar to you. 2, being a transition period full of testing, learning, and growth. And 3, your return or your reintegration. Studies show that there are several critical ages in our early development, including 1, 4, 7, 11, and 14 to 17. During these times, we need appropriate stimuli and challenge in order to move ourselves to that next higher level. More recently, we have left this challenge and development up to chance as opposed to making it a part of our modern culture, as we had done for centuries before. Today, we use events more as a marking of a change in a person's life, such as a sweet 16 birthday party or marriage, to name a few. These are all significant, but largely don't incorporate the same physical and mental challenges we had once used. I came to realize that it was these important elements in these expeditions that were helping foster that significant growth that I was noticing. And though rite of passage is, of course, more common to the younger generation that's coming of age, as we get older, it is still important for us to continue to incorporate challenge into our lives so that we do not become too comfortable or sedentary. Michael Easter, author of a book called The Comfort Crisis, states that as a society, we are more comfortable now than ever before, something that could be leading to some of our most urgent physical and mental issues we face today. In many ways, modern conveniences have made us too comfortable. These, of course, are not all bad, but too much of them can be. Think about how we no longer have to leave our house for things like work, food, or exercise. To have a conversation or the answer to anything is always at our fingertips. Each day, Americans spend an average of 7 hours a day looking at different screens. In 2019, a survey showed that half of Americans didn't even go outside for any type of recreation whatsoever. During the pandemic and the years that followed, that number increased. However, since then, the frequency of those outings have been declining. Fortunately, studies around the world show that something as simple as a 15-minute walk outside can show drops in important categories such as blood pressure, heart rate, and stress levels. This can leave us feeling more productive and creative. However, people who are on that same 15-minute walk with their phones saw none of those benefits. There's another study showing some incredible benefits to something called the 3-day effect, which is something where you spend a minimum of 3 days outdoors without any technology. We need these 3 days for our brains to fully reset and to relax from its everyday stressors. As you can see, there are many benefits to stepping outside and challenging yourself, both for your physical and your mental health. We usually do not fully comprehend what it is we are actually able to accomplish until we have pushed ourselves to both the edges of our physical and mental limits to truly find out. We live in a beautiful world. Get out and explore it. And do not let the fear of failure or challenge scare you from finding out what you are truly capable of, but rather embrace it. You'll be better off because of it. Thank you.